What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with a vintage Kenner market update. One quick channel note, I want to say thank you to Ryan Byrne for becoming a Patreon supporter. I've had a lot of recent Patreon supporters join the ranks, and I just want to say thanks to everybody who has become a Patreon supporter that helps support the channel. It means a lot to me, and it definitely helps out a lot. Whenever I get back into town, I'm going to try and do a few more subscriber giveaways. So I just don't know when I'm leaving town, but in the interim, I'm going to keep pumping out some videos for you guys. And I got a lot of nice items here, both loose graded figures and mint on card figures. And I thought we'd just dig right in. It wasn't like a huge assortment of stuff that closed yesterday, but it was enough that I think it was worth talking about. And there were a lot of early card backs that ended this weekend, and I wanted to go ahead and dig right in. First of all, we got a 12-back AFA 80 C-3PO. So a really nice condition, really high grade. And this one, you know, obviously is the earliest card back, the 12-back A's. The earliest being the 12-back A's with the SKU on the footer. So this little footer right here, I apologize for, I got some monitor issues, so I don't know what's going on there, but I might have to try and avoid doing some zooms of the photos because my monitor just keeps flickering off for some strange reason. But anyway, this one is a 12-back A without the SKU footer on the footer, and those are the earliest, but this would be the second earliest of the different 12-backs, and this one was an AFA 80. It was listed for $2,000, best offer accepted. No idea what the final sales price was, but that's probably in line with market. Given where we've seen a lot of the 12-backs sell and where we're going to see a lot of them sell here in a second, I can't imagine that price is too far off, even the list price. So whatever that final sales price was, it's probably pretty much in line with what a 12-back A goes for these days. There were a number of items that sold on Brian's Toys, who's a pretty well-known seller at this point. This one was a 12-back B 70 plus grade, and the card was an 80 blister 70 figure 80. And that one sold for $911 in an auction, 20 bids that closed yesterday evening. So that gives you an idea of what, you know, a fairly low grade 12-back would sell for, 12-back B. And he also had a 12-back B Death Squad Commander. That was AFA 75, card 80, blister 75, figure 80. And the weapon was still attached in his hand, so I'm guessing it was some slight paint degradation that was going on to drop that to an 80 for the figure score. But anyway, it sold for $760. That's a pretty good price for an AFA 75 12-back B. 27 bids on that one. He also had this beautiful one. This was an AFA 70 12-back B Obi-Wan Kenobi. That one sold for $1125 on 26 bids. Really nice item there, and pretty good shape overall. I mean, you know, the overall score wasn't great, but the blister and the figure sub scores were really great. And let's see, this was a different seller, but this one was a 12-back C R2D2, only a 70 grade, but that one sold for $762 plus shipping. I mean, you know, you could have gotten an AFA 80 plus earlier this year that sold in the 900s. So that just shows you, despite the quite a bit lower grade, what they're going for now. So pretty much any 12-back right now is just going for a pretty significant amount of change. This was a 12-back C that Brian's Toys had. This one sold for $932. It was an AFA 70 overall, 23 bids. And you can see here something that we've talked about in the past. This one still, the Stormtrooper still has the weapon attached in his hand. So usually that would qualify for an AFA 85 figure score. But the figure score on this one was only a 75. And the reason being is because his limbs, the arms and the legs, were very pink. So you can see there that, you know, it still happens that these 44-year-old figures are starting to degrade inside the plastic, and so that's what drove that figure score down to a 75 overall. And then finally, Brian's Toys had this one. This was a 12-back C Princess Leia. That one sold for $1202. Figure score was 75. The weapon was still attached, so again, it's the same problem that the Stormtrooper had that he listed, where the limbs had turned pink. And so again, it's just something you got to really look out for, especially if you're buying one that's ungraded that you would like to grade, that you really take a close look, especially at the limbs for these white figures, because it's going to drop that figure score automatically down to a 75 when you have that pinkish hue to the limbs. I've got a few loose graded figures kind of interspersed in here. I thought this was a great deal. This one had an archival case, AFA 85 Luke Farmboy with a letter on the saber hilt. So one of the earlier lettered saber examples. AFA 85, really nice high score. And, you know, the final sales price of $365 plus $15 shipping, that's a pretty good price. I think the main reason it got that score is because I think it might be a little bit overgraded. If you look at his hair, Luke's hair, he's got quite a bit of paint rub going on there, or it could be degradation. I don't know, but it did have an archival case. The body was nice and bright white, but it seems like it might be just a little bit overgraded. I think that's probably more like an 80 plus type figure at best, just given the pretty significant paint wear to his hair. But and I think the price reflected that. I think that the bidders kind of recognized that, man, this might be a little bit overgraded, but nevertheless, it's still a great price, I think, for a really nice Luke Farmboy. Here was another one. This one, you know, if you look at a Farmboy, typically goes for quite a bit more than a high-grade Chewbacca, but this Chewbacca was an AFA 85 plus, and it sold for almost as much as the Farmboy did. Nice new accessory case, newer case style. This is just a standard Hong Kong Chewbacca, but because it was such a high grade, that one sold for big money, $344 plus $15 shipping. You know, an AFA 85 probably goes 150 to 175-ish maybe. And so you can see the big price difference there just to go to an 85 plus, as we've talked about many times. This was a low grade Luke mint on card, Luke Hoth, but it had a nice clear blister. It had the beautiful Revenge of the Jedi sticker. I love that blue contrast or matching kind of blue color with the part of the card back there that's that has the figure behind the figure. That blue really goes nicely with the Revenge of the Jedi sticker, but it had some pretty significant wear around the hang tab there, as you can see. It might even be all the way pulled apart off the hang tab there. It's difficult to tell there, but it didn't seem to stop the bidders though. That sold for $482 with 21 bids. That's a pretty big number given the condition, but a really nice example. Here's one that does not come up at auction very much. It was only a 75 grade, but it was the Droid Factory R2-D2. It was graded 75 by Collector Archive Services. That one sold for $250. Just as a reference point, I've seen these very regularly sell in like an 85 grade for over double that. So, pretty good price, I think, for a 75 grade Droid Factory R2-D2 with that third leg. That's just a figure that does not seem to appear very much, especially at auction, and pretty nice final price there, I think, for that one. That seller over in the UK, I get a lot of comments from viewers that say, like, hey, you don't cover enough stuff overseas. So I did pull a number of items that this seller listed at auction, and very nice foreign figures. And I wanted to point this one out. This was only a 70 grade, but it was the Spanish POC early Spanish figure of the Rebel Commander. And the reason it got the 70 is because you can see the kind of modeled kind of look to the paint on his legs there. That's a very common defect that you see, especially on this specific figure. He gets this kind of mottled brown spots to the limbs, and it's a very telltale sign that this is definitely a Spanish POC Rebel Commander, because that is a defect that happens quite a bit just with degradation from that paint. The paint that the early Spanish factory used, they imported Hong Kong parts and they assembled it and painted it in the POC factory, as we talked about. But they used a different kind of paint that just didn't hold up very well. And the sonic welds also don't hold up very well. So oftentimes you see those figures fall apart over time. But a really nice example there. That only sold for $100 roughly in US dollars, 71 pounds plus shipping. And another one that he had that I couldn't tell if this one was definitely a Spanish POC Lando, but this is the brown neck version. There's two different versions. The more rare version is the black neck. It's a solid black color that's the same color as his collar on his shirt there. And that one's a much more rare example. It goes for quite a bit more money, but this one was a 75 grade. It looks like the Spanish Pock figure just based on the paint. I mean, it's got a lot of paint defects and things like that, so it's probably legitimate, but it's just hard for me to tell without looking at the date stamp on the back of the leg, which is obviously covered up by the cape. But that one sold for $192, $138.99 in terms of pounds. Probably about right for one of those figures. It's one of those ones that just doesn't seem to appear very much on eBay. Another one that the same seller had was this pink face Spanish PvP Han, and the more famous example has a pale face. He's got like a purple vest, and more purple color vest, but this one was UKG graded 80. Figure was 85, paint was 80. This one sold for $102 in the US. Pretty good number there, but you know, it's hard to tell because the you know, you can't really see the date stamps very well on this one unless he's got a close up here later on. Let's see. Yeah, here we go. So it's, you know, it's got made in, and then the rest of it's scratched out. So again, they took the molds for the Hong Kong factory and then imported those molds and produced those in the Spanish PvP factory. But looks like a very legitimate pink face PvP Han Hoth, and I think that price was great. I mean, that's a really good price for a Spanish figure. Another one, this was best offer accepted. It was listed for 85 pounds, and this is the purple armor paleface Dengar PvP figure. Really nice example there. Great price though. It was listed at 85 pounds, best offer accepted. A standard Rebel Soldier UKG 85 though, so nice high grade. This is a Hong Kong example. Number of different Rebel Soldier variants out there. I mean, you got the molded legs, and you got the PvP and POC examples with the dark brown. Really nice wide array of Rebel Soldiers to collect if you're into variant hunting. But this was just a standard Hong Kong, and it was you know, a nice high grade with a new case, and that one sold for $152 in an auction. And this is another one that I thought was a great deal, assuming it was legit. It looks like the correct figure. This is the Ledy Mexican General Maydeen. The paint scheme and everything looks correct. The Maydeen is known for having, for his wand, his little staff, the sculpt of it is a lot softer. It's a different colored white, and the details on that wand are a lot softer than the Hong Kong or you know, some of the Taiwan version that use a really sharp mold to it. So this one looks nice and soft. So it very well could be the correct accessory. I mean, I assume it is. And the Ledy Mexican Maydeen, it does use the Hong Kong date stamp, but it's just got a different paint scheme and a different accessory that were manufactured there in the Ledy factory. But anyway, that one sold for $105. I thought that was a great price for a UKG 80 grade. Here was another one. This is a Palatoy AT-AT driver with the tri-logo bubble, the larger bubble. That one was UKG 80 overall, cards 85, blister 75, figure 85. Looks like a really nice example. And here's the label on that one if you want to close up. It's a 65B. So that one sold for $326 in the US, or 236 pounds. Pretty good price there, I think, for a nice high-grade AT-AT driver. And here was yet another Boba Fett mint on card. This one had the Emperor offer, 65 back, very yellowed blister, but looked to be in nice high-grade condition. No cracks in the blister from what I could tell. And it sold for big money, of course. As we know, the Boba Fett tax is alive and well. Sold for $2,600 and with 26 bids. That one just closed up yesterday, so probably an 80 grade overall, but a really nice example. And a couple of last 17 figures to round out this video. This was an ungraded mint on card Power of the Force Imperial Gunner. It was unpunched. Pretty nice condition overall. Some nice dimpling at the top of the blister. So probably like a 80 or maybe a 75 plus. But the punch was just barely hanging on, and you can see the dents there in the blister. But $511, that's a pretty good price. I mean, I've seen loose ungraded mint examples for that figure go for $300 to $350 easily, and graded, I mean, I saw an AFA 90 I think on Facebook sell for almost $700. So $511 for a mint on card Imperial Gunner, given what last 17 are doing right now, that's a pretty great price. And then finally, we'll round it off with a CAS 90 grade Luke Skywalker in his combat poncho. No COO, obviously, which they all are, but it was a 90 grade, very, very high grade. It's got that black Imperial blaster, and it was really nice condition. It was graded in 2019, but a 90 grade, and it sold for $342. I thought that price was great. You know, very regularly this figure ungraded can sell for that, so I think that was a great steal of a deal there for a beautiful last 17 Luke. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. I try to do these updates every so often for vintage Kenner as well as for the vintage collection, and just try to keep people updated on prices as they try to fill out their collection. I would love to hear if any of you bought anything great this weekend. In the comments below, be sure to like and subscribe for future content, and thanks so much for watching.